the 2025 playbill is amazing. A lot of thrill, a lot of diversity in there. When you look at the actors, it's almost as if the audience, there's an expectation that this is what the festival will do, beyond putting on amazing productions. Um, I'm just wondering, how how did you have to go, and what did you have to do over all those years to get where you are today? And Anthony, you can start, and then Anita, you can fill in.
Thanks, Hamlin. It's great to see you. And yeah, it's been a lot of years. I think 2005, 2006,
Yeah.
first time that Anita and I and the festival and DiversiPro worked together. And those are very important years as we have this discussion because they they were seminal. They were years where we began to discover what we didn't know and the things we needed to do to make the festival stronger and more resilient for the years ahead. In terms of the playbill, yeah, I'm very proud of it. And thank you, Hamlin. 2025 is off to an exciting start. And we still are finishing off some of the work from 2024. For instance,
That's right.
Salesman in China, the
Yeah.
beautiful piece that Giovanni Sai and Leanna Brody put together. And it's fantastic. It's a story of Arthur Miller getting to direct Death of a Salesman, his great iconic play in 1983 when China was just opening up. It's just played at the National Arts Center, and we're hoping it has a life. We have interest from other places around North America to present it. And
Right.
it's important, and I raise it for a reason, because that piece of work, which has incredible kind of different points of view and done in 50% Mandarin, 50% in English,
Yeah.
is a big success. And it is something that people, when I went to the National Arts Center and looked at the remount of our production, I was really blown away by the composition of the audience. I was very proud of the work on stage, and we have more of that coming. So I feel that that's something that audiences have come to look forward to, is journeys and stories that they don't already know that are taking them
Yeah.
in new directions or retelling old stories that they may know in new and different ways. And so this coming year with, productions like Sense and Sensibility will really cross the playbill, as well as specific titles like Forgiveness, the Mark Sakamoto
Okay, yes.
novel that won the Canada Reads. I think we have, the makings of not just an artistically successful season, but also one that is profound in terms of exploration of the human condition in many different forms.
Yeah, yeah. Well, obviously there's a commitment to this. There's a commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion, not just on the stage, but in the audience as well. And Anita, I'm just curious because you were there from the beginning as well. I remember back in those days, in the early days, and even
Mhm.
through some of those really tough conversations that were being had during the height of the Black Lives Matters movement and George Floyd moment. And I'm going to talk a bit about that. I want to get your reflection on that as well. It's obvious there's this commitment and also an investment in this. Um, why, why did the festival um, decide to go in this direction so many years ago?
I think it's a business imperative. It is how we attract talent and the very best talent across the country. And it's how we attract audiences. And we have a lot of work to do, Hamlin. We are not there. Thank you for acknowledging that we have done some work and made some, and that we are enormously committed to
Yeah,
creating a workplace and a culture that people feel seen and welcomed. Um, but it felt like a business imperative. And it's also, there's something really joyful too. Antoni referenced Salesman in
yeah,
China, and he talked about how how meaningful it was, and it brought our audiences. Our audiences are very curious, but it also brought Chinese audiences that are saying, "Hey, the Stratford Festival is doing something for me."
yeah,
And we had people in the front of house who spoke Mandarin. We had translated house programs. Like, we're getting to a place where we're thinking through across the whole experience, how do we welcome people in? And there's something really joyful about that. So it's not just the spreadsheets of it being a good business
yeah.
decision. It is the experience of the festival being enriched.
Yeah. And in a way, I talk a lot about the ABCs of diversity and inclusion. And the A is sort of the appeasement model where you're doing it because you're forced to do it. Maybe there's been a lawsuit, maybe there've been protests, those sorts of things. The B is the business case, the dollars and cents, you can make money doing it. And then there's a C of the ABC is really the core value. And it seems to me the festival has made this a core value.
Mhm.
Would that be a right assessment?
I think that that is right. As Anita says, we still are in a process. We've got lots of work to do. The last number of years has been about trying to understand what we don't understand, what we need to, and it coming and DiversiPro was very helpful in terms of better understanding our own mindsets. And this has been a long journey, but absolutely, this is we know that the work on our stage will be better for this. We know the talent recruitment will be stronger for this. And we also know that reaching out to different audiences will make the festival, our theaters more full, and
Yeah,
also give a more interesting response to the work on our stages. You know, the play is only as good as the audience, Hamlin. So if
yeah,
you've
that's
got
true.
everybody's come from one neighborhood in Toronto and they're
Yeah,
all laughing at the same jokes, they're not understanding. Whereas if you have a great cross section of humanity, and I'm talking about every kind of cross section, right? Then the response is richer, it's fuller, it is a better exploration of the work on the stage.
yeah, yeah. And after a while, because I've been in those audiences. I've been in the audience of Romeo and Juliet, a multicultural family, multiracial family. Remember back in that day, right? And
Mhm.
look into the audience, and the audience after a while they just got immersed into the story. The play does really become the thing, doesn't it? And the
Mhm.
audience really sees the full humanity on the stage, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, especially in the festival theater, which of course
Yeah,
wraps around the stage. So you're not only seeing the play, you're looking at other people watching the
you're in.
play.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
the more diverse that experience, the richer it is.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to talk about heritage for a minute because the festival, obviously, is one of Canada's most prestigious and internationally recognized theater festival. Founded what, more than 70 years ago. It's been around a long time. Contributed significantly to Canada's cultural identity. How has this commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion helped to maintain this heritage, you think, for the festival?
Anita, I'm just going to jump in a little bit about our origins and then
Yeah,
hand it
Yeah,
to
go for
you.
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hamlin, the point that really struck me early on was that uh, diversity was right at the start of the festival in the sense that
Hmm.
there was somebody from this small community, Stratford, Ontario, who, having seen how much culture there was when they were in the Second World War in other countries, wanted to bring it back to Stratford. So, name Stratford. Shakespeare grew up in Stratford. There's a Stratford Festival in England. Why not? Right? So that's where it started. And he managed to reach out to one of the finest directors of the 20th century, Jerome Guthrie, who wanted to create this original stage, this revolutionary stage, which was like the one in Shakespeare's time. But up till 1953, it had never existed.
Hmm.
But he wanted to do something else as well. He didn't want to come to Canada with this kind of colonialist mindset of we're going to impart this and we'll do it and you watch. He did auditions right across the country. And that original company for Canada at that time was very diverse. They had, people from all sorts of ethnic backgrounds in that company. They were Canadian players at a time when there weren't really any theaters at that time.
Right.
Chris Plummer joked he had just left the country. And he said, there I am, leaving the country. And for the first time in history, the greatest theater event in the world is happening back in
And
Canada.
I'm
And
not
he needs
there.
to come home, right? So, the entire idea from the beginning was making sure that this was, as Tyrone Guthrie said, a uniquely Canadian enterprise.
Yeah.
And he made sure there was representation of what Canada was like at that time. We have a responsibility and an opportunity to continue to do that, to make sure that we represent the Canada of today, that we are open and inclusive, because that's in our DNA. That's what started here, and that's what will make this place always strong.
Yeah. Interesting. Anita, any thoughts on that from your perspective? I mean,
I think
from the
that's a perfect
administrative side.
answer. Yeah, I think it's a perfect answer. I mean, we want to be relevant to today. And so telling stories that where people recognize themselves or are provided insight into worlds that they want to learn about.
Yeah.
So I do, it's building on the tradition, but I think we also have to be deliberate as well. We've done a lot to be representative of the country and to invite folks into the festival, and to create a culture where people feel like they can do their best work. But I think striving to be relevant is a cornerstone of our work.